Okay, Fusion family, let's make simply the best tasting vegan tuna fish that you've ever tried. You can have this hot or cold. I'm here for it. Let's get right into it. I have some chickpea. They're dry. I like to make it from scratch, so I don't use the ones in the can. And I had soaked these and boiled it and strained it. So now I have fresh chickpea ready to go. It's a nice and simple dish. It's just the way the spices are layered in this dish. So I'm going to take the chickpea and I am going to crush it. Feel free to use a bullet if you have a bullet. It'll make it a little bit easier. I want to crush some of them so we kind of have a nice little chunky consistency in the chickpea before we start layering and adding the spices. This can be eaten hot or cold, and it's so delicious. It refrigerates well. You can even freeze some of it, reheat it as needed. Again, if you have a bullet, you can just make things easier and just run this in the bullet for like a couple seconds and you'll get a nice chunky consistency. It's always good to use fresh beans versus stuff in the can. You never want the stuff in the can that's been sitting there forever, and sometimes the can has stuff in it, so we want to keep things as pure and as clean as possible. We're gonna take this crushed chickpea and it was just cooked with a little bit of sea salt, and we're going to cut our vegetables that we're going to be adding. So let's go over the list of vegetables and spices that we're going to be adding to our tuna fish. So we're going to have a chopped onions, and I'm using about a half of a large onion for this because we're using the equivalent, I would say that's the equivalent of about two cans, I should say 2 cans of chickpea. But again, I'm using fresh beans. So we're going to be chopping the onions. We're going to be adding sweet peppers in different colors, red and orange sweet peppers, or you can use yellow sweet peppers to give it a nice coloring. I'm going to be adding some fresh thyme, some dried oregano, chopped parsley. I'm going to be adding some seaweed, and then we're going to spice this with a little bit of garlic powder. We're going to use some spice fish fry from the Caribbean Fusion sauces and spices. We have the spice fish fry and seafood seasoning. We're going to be adding a little bit of Spice It Right all-purpose seasoning, some black pepper, and a little bit of tamarind chutney simmering pepper sauce. And then we're going to finish that off with some olive oil, and we're going to toss this and some fresh lemon juice, at least 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. And we're going to add that, and we're going to mix well. You can always taste it and adjust the flavor as needed. So let's get right into it as we chop these vegetables. So I'm cutting up some chopped cilantro, not parsley, chopped cilantro, and the chopped cilantro is the perfect herb to give that vegan tuna fish the right balancing of flavors, to give it that right texture and balancing of flavors, the tangy taste. I'm adding some sweet pickles. You can add the bread and butter pickles to the tuna fish, and it's gonna kind of give it kind of like a, you're making like a tuna salad, except that this is not the salad, this is the vegan tuna fish. You could take this and convert it into a vegan tuna fish salad. So I'm chopping some sweet pickles to add to the mixture. And so we're going to add our chopped vegetables to our crushed beans, and then once we're done with that, we're going to season this really well. And the good thing is that you can always season to taste. You know, you season it, then you taste it, see where you are, add a little bit more of what you need. I'm adding some more fresh herbs, some thyme leaves. So this is a really healthy dish. And then I'm going to add a little bit of dried oregano that I had from the garden. Now we want to just add the leaves and not the little stems. You know, that can become really in the way we're trying to enjoy this tuna fish dish. So we're going to pull the leaves off from the thyme. and just not include the sticks. Now here we have some dried oregano, and I'm adding some dried oregano. And then we're going to season this well with the Caribbean Fusion spiced fish fry and seafood seasoning, and also the Spicy Right all-purpose seasoning. I'm going to be using the equivalent of a teaspoon of the Spicy Right and a teaspoon and a half of the spiced fish fry and seafood seasoning. Again, you can always adjust to taste. I'm going to add a little black pepper. I would say the equivalent of about a half a teaspoon, and some garlic powder. And I think I did about a half a teaspoon of that also. Add some salt, some sea salt to taste. And I'm going to add a little bit of our tamarind chutney simmering pepper sauce because I like the flavor that it gives. And then we're going to mix this well. One of the things I decided to add to this particular tuna fish dish is some seaweed. And the seaweed has a nice effect, not just the flavor of the seaweed, but it gives it that fishy type of taste that the tuna fish has. And I think that's a really good idea. Just break these seaweed up. Not only that, it's very healthy. So I'm adding about, you can add anywhere from 3 to 4 of these, depending on how much tuna fish that you're making. And of course, don't forget your lemon juice. So I'm going to add the equivalent of 2 teaspoons of lemon juice, and then we're going to finish up with some olive oil. You know, once you do your first mix of this vegan tuna fish, you can always give it a taste test and adjust as needed. So you're going to see that I'm going to adjust the seasoning as needed. It's looking so pretty and so colorful, and this is so delicious, hot or cold. You can make this into a hot tuna fish, or use it to make a nice sandwich. Layer it with some avocado, put a little piece of vegan cheese. You know, you can really build a sandwich out of this. Add some fried plantains to this, and you can enjoy this in so many different ways. I know you guys are gonna love it. Now I am gonna add a little bit of black pepper to the mix. Again, you could always adjust your seasoning as needed, and you're gonna see that I'm gonna adjust the seasoning as I go. I'm adjusting the seasoning by adding a little bit more lemon juice, a little bit more spiced fish fry, and a little bit more black pepper mixed in taste. I'm adding a little bit more olive oil because we need the olive oil to give it that moisture that we're looking for this dish. And stir, taste as you go. This is looking so good and so colorful. I'm adjusting my seasoning as needed. I want to add a tad more Celtic salt to bring in the flavor a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more olive oil. And again, you can adjust it as needed. This dish is, and the thing about it, you can make this in bulk. You can use it in so many different ways. You can use it as a sandwich. You can use it as on sandwiches. You can use it as a side dish. You can eat it hot or cold. You can convert this into a tuna salad. It is so good and so delicious and so pretty, so beautiful. Use it in a wrap, and so easy to make, so delicious, and so tasty. And I'm sure you guys are gonna love it too. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, guys, it's a pleasure having you here.